ClickFunnels has changed a lot of our lives. We all have an origin story. Mine was something similar to, I set up my website on GoDaddy and things were going great. And then Dave Woodward's like, dude, you need ClickFunnels. I'm like, I don't need a ClickFunnel. I don't even know what a ClickFunnel is. He's like, no, seriously, man, this is going to totally change your business. I'm like, bro, I have GoDaddy. They have a commercial on the Super Bowl. ClickFunnels doesn't. But when they do, I'll do it. Well, boy, was I wrong. I changed over and it absolutely changed our business and changed our life. So thank you for that, Dave. But here's the thing. In every industry, there's somebody that comes along that really disrupts the industry, that really changes it, and that really does something amazing for that industry. And as we all, why we're here, we know that that person is Russell Brunson. And he has changed a lot of our lives. So give it up, guys.
All right, well, thanks for coming, you guys. This is so cool. So a couple of real quick things before we get started. For all of you guys you know who came to be part of this, we had y'all donate a little bit of money towards Operation Underground Railroad. And I'm really excited because Melanie told me right before I got out here kind of the total of how much money we raised from this little event for them. So I think the final number was a little over $13,000 was raised for Operation Underground Railroad. So thank you guys for continued support with them. Grateful for you guys for donating money to come here. And hope you had a good time so far. It's been fun. Okay. I really want to tuck my shirt in now. I'm feeling kind of awkward. But, no, it's been awesome. Okay, so I want to introduce the person who's going to be doing the interview tonight, and it's someone I'm really excited to have here. In fact, I've met him for the first time like an hour ago in person. But I want to tell kind of the reason why I wanted him to do this and why we're all here, and I'm grateful he said yes and was willing to come out here and kind of do this. So Andrew runs a podcast called Mixergy. How many guys in here are Mixergy listeners? All right. Mixergy is my favorite podcast. I love it. He's interviewed thousands of people about their startup stories and about how they started their businesses. And it's really cool because he brings in the entrepreneurs and he gets them to tell their stories. But what's unique about what Andrew does that's fascinating is the way he interviews people is completely different. It's unique. I listen to a lot of podcasts and I don't like a lot of interview shows because a lot of them are just kind of high level. Everyone you listen to with Andrew, he gets really, really deep. The other fun thing is he doesn't edit his interviews. And so there's one interview, I'll tease him about this right now, but I was listening to it on my headphones, and him and the guests got kind of an argument and a fight, and then it just ended, and then they aired it. And I was like, I can't believe you aired that. It was amazing. And then I was on his podcast a little while later, and he asked me some questions I couldn't quite understand perfectly, so I was trying to respond the best I could and then kind of like fumble through it. And instead of letting me off the hook, his response was, man, Russell, that was probably the worst answer I've ever heard you give in any interview ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, and so I'm excited for tonight because I told him there's no holds barred. He can ask me anything he wants about the ups of ClickFunnels, the downs of ClickFunnels, and anything else, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to have him here. So with that said, let's put our hands together for Mr. Andrew Warner.
Thanks, Russell, for having me here. Most people will contact me after I interview them and say, could you please not air the interview? And you actually had me back here to do it in person. And you were so nice. You even got us this room here. Check this out. They set us up. They're so nice at ClickFunnels. They said, Andrew, you're staying here. We're going to put you and your family up the night before in a room. And my wife was so good. Look, that's her journaling. And then I went to call somebody who was basically let go from ClickFunnels. And my wife goes, Andrew, why do you have to do that? That's not why they invited you here. And I said, I do know Russell. I know the team. They actually did invite me to really help get to the story of how ClickFunnels started, how it built up. And the reason that I was up calling people, understanding the stories, because I want to make it meaningful for you. I've talked to a lot of you as you were coming in here. You want to know how they got here, what worked for ClickFunnels, what would work for us. And so that's my goal here, to spend the time understanding by interviewing you about how you did it. And so I want to go way back to a guy that a few of you might recognize, and I know you would. and ask you, what drew you to this guy when you were younger?
Don the Pre.
One tiny classified ad in the newspaper that makes just $30 to $40 profit in a week, it could make you a fortune. Because the secret is learning how to take that one tiny classified ad that just made $30 to $40 profit in a week, and to realize that you can now take that same exact ad and place it in up to 3,000 other newspapers around the country.
I'm having nostalgia right now. Okay, so this is the story on that. So I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, something like that. And I was watching the news with my dad, and usually he's like, go to bed, Russell. And he didn't that night. And then the news got over. I think he thought I was asleep. And then MASH came on. And so MASH started playing, and then it got over. Then this infomercial showed up. And I'm laying there on the couch, like watching Don the Pre talk about tiny classified ads. I was totally freaking out. And I jumped up and I begged my dad to buy it, and he said no. And I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, did you not listen to what he said? Did you guys just hear that? That was a good pitch, huh?" It's really good. I love a good pitch. It is so good. And so I went and asked my dad if I could earn the money. So I went and mowed lawns, and then I earned the money to order the kit. And I still have the original books to this day.
Whoa. Oh, you disappointed? I bought it too. It was the dream of being able to do
That's why I like you so much. That's amazing.
And it was just, all he sent you was a bunch of paper like guides to how to buy ads, right? Were you disappointed when you got that?
No, I was excited. I think for me, because like the vision was cast, it was like, and he just said it right there, word for word, he's like, you made $40 in newspaper, and if you're disappointed, but you put that same ad in 3,000 newspapers, imagine that. And so I had the vision of that. I think the only thing I was disappointed in is like, didn't have any money to actually buy an ad. And that was more like, I can't actually do it now.
You are a champion wrestler, and then you got married. Is your wife here?
My beautiful wife right here, Collette.
Hey, Collette. And your dad had a conversation with you about money. What did he say?
So up to that point, my dad had supported me, and I figured he would the rest of my life. I think, I don't know. So I was 21, almost 22 at this time, because I was wrestling, so I couldn't get a job, so I was wrestling all the time. And I met Collette, fell in love with her, and then I called my parents. And I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna propose to her and everything," expecting them to be like, "Sweet, that'll be awesome." And my mom was all excited. I'm not gonna lie, but then my dad was like, "Well, just so you know, like if you get married, like you have to be a man now. Like you have to support yourself." And I was like, "But I don't know how to do that. I'm wrestling." And he's like, "Well, I'm not gonna keep paying for you to do it." I'm like, "But I'm like literally got the ring. I have to, like I can't not propose now." And that was kind of the thing. And so it was interesting because about that time there was another infomercial. There's the pattern about, I can't remember exactly the name of the company, but they were doing an event at the local Holiday Inn that was like, "Hey, you're gonna build websites and make money." And I was like, it was like the night or day or 2 days after I told my dad this, and he was like, "You're in trouble." And I saw that, and I was like, "There's the answer." So I'm at Holiday Inn like 2 days later, sitting in the room, hearing the pitch, signing up for stuff I shouldn't have bought. And there's the pattern.
Did you feel like a loser getting married at 22 and still counting on your dad for money? Did you feel like you were marrying a loser?
Actually, this is the sad story. So, because my roommate at the time, she actually asked me, she was like, "Do you think he's going to be able to support me in the future?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think so." I'm like, I didn't know this till later. I don't know if I felt like a loser, but I definitely was nervous. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Because like my whole identity to that point in my life was I was a wrestler. And like, if that was to disappear, like I couldn't have that disappear. And so I was like, I have to figure out something. There's got to be some way for me to do both.
To do both what? To be a wrestler and make money from some infomercial?
Well, I didn't know that was going to be the path, but yeah. No, but to be able...
You knew that you were going to do something. What do you think that was going to be?
I wasn't sure, like... when I went to the event, they were selling these like timeshare books, and you could buy resale rights to them. And so I was like, oh. And I remember back, because I remember the Don the Pre stuff, right? I was like, maybe I could buy classified ads and sell these things. And then I was at the event, and then they're talking about websites. And that was the first thing I'd heard about websites. And they're talking about Google and all the beginnings of this whole internet thing, right? And so I was like, I could do that. And it made all logical sense to me. But I just didn't know how, I didn't know how to do it. I just knew that like that was going to be the only path, because if I had to get a job, I wouldn't be able to wrestle. So I was like, I had to figure out something that's not going to be a 40-hour thing, because I'm spending that time wrestling and going to school. So I had to figure out the best of how to do both.
And you obviously found it. My goal today is to go through the process of finding it. But let me skip ahead a little bit. What is this website?
Oh man. All right. This is actually, so the backstory behind this is there was a guy named Vince James who wrote a book called The 12-Month Millionaire. And if anyone's got that book, it's fat like a phone book. It's a huge book. And I read it and I was like, this book's amazing. And at the time I was an affiliate marketer, so I had maybe 1,000 people on my list. So I called Vince. I was like, hey, can I interview you about the book? And then I'll use that as a tool to sell more copies of your book. And he was like, sure. Hi, I'm Russell Brunson, and I wanted to congratulate you on investing in the 12-month Internet Millionaire. And so he jumped on the phone with me and on a Saturday, and he spent 3 hours interviewing, letting me interview any questions I had. And I got to the end of it, and I still had like a ton of questions. He's like, well, come back next week and do it again. So I interviewed him for 6 hours about it. This interview series was actually a supplement I did to go with Vince James' book. And then we used that to sell some copies of his book, and then it just sat there probably for 2 or 3 years as I was trying different ideas and for businesses and things like that. But every time I would talk to people, I tell them about this interview. I'm like, I interviewed this guy who made $100 million through direct mail, and everyone was like wanted to hear the interview. Every asked me for it. So one day I was like, let's make that the product. This is actually my interview with Vince. It's on 6 CDs. Throw it in your car, listen to it while you're driving around. We put it up here, and this was the very first funnel we ever had that did over $1 million. My first 2 Comma Club funnel.
$1 million. Do you remember what that felt like?
It was amazing because it was funny back then because there were a few people who were like making a lot of money online that I was watching and just like idolizing everything they were doing. I was trying to model what they were doing. And I'd had like little wins like, $10,000 here, $15,000 here. But this was by far the first one that just hit. Everyone was so excited to hear.
How'd you celebrate?
I don't even remember how we celebrated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Married a winner after all. What do you remember what you guys did to celebrate? No.
I don't even remember. It was on my list.
No,
That's a good question.
It'll come up. Oh, that list is going to come up in a second too. You ended up creating ClickFunnels. How much revenue are you guys doing now? 2018.
2018, we'll pass over $100 million this year. This calendar
$100
year.
million. Wow.
Yeah.
How far have you come?
Like when did we start? Or
Today, revenue as of today, October 2018.
oh, this year?
Yeah.
From the beginning of time till now.
No. I mean, I want to know. Like, you're going to do $100 million. Are you at 10 and you're hoping to?
These guys know better than me. Do you know exactly where we're at right now? 83 million for the year.
I love that Dave knows that, right? So I want to know how you got to that I went through your site, pages and pages. It looked like this. It's like long form sales letters. I asked my assistant to take pictures. She said, I can't do it. It's too many. Look at this, guys. I asked him to help me figure out what he did. He created this list. This is not the full list. Look at this. Every blue line is him finding an old archive of a page that he created. It goes on and on like this. How long did it take you to put that together?
It's probably 5 or 6 hours just to find all
5 or 6
pages.
hours you spent to find these images, to help me tell the story. And years of doing this, a lot of failure. What amazes me is you didn't feel jaded and let down after Don Lapre sold you that stuff. You didn't feel jaded and let down and said, this whole make money thing is a failure. And we're going to talk about some of your failures. You just kept going with that same smile, the same eagerness. All right, let's start with the very first business. What's this one? This is called
SublimeNet. How many of you guys remember SublimeNet out there? Anyway, so
you guys remember this? Anyone remember it? You do.
John does.
John.
So actually, this is the first business, but the first website I bought, I was so proud of it, and I spent I wanted to sell software, and so I was like, what could I name my company? And so I figured out exciting software. So I wanted to buy exciteware.com, but it wasn't for sale, and so I bought exciteware.net. And Collette was working at the time, and she came home, and I was so excited. I'm like, we got our first website. We're going to be rich. And I told her the name. I was like, it's exciteware.net. And she looked at me with this look like, she's like, are you selling underwear? Or what is I was like, lingerie. I'm like, it's software. And then she's like, I'm not going to tell my mom that you bought that. Like, you have to think of another name. And I was like, crap. And so that was the next best name I came up with was SublimeNet. Because I like the band Sublime. That was it.
And I was going to ask you what it was, but it was lots of different things. Every screenshot on there is a whole other business under the same name. What are the businesses? Do you remember?
There was website hosting. There's affiliate sites. I can't remember now. I'm trying to remember.
Lots of different
Everything
things.
I
How
could
did
think
it do?
of.
How well did
Resale
it do?
rights. Oh, never anything. Very little. Like maybe I remember the first thing I ever sold was an affiliate product. I sold. I made $20 on it through my PayPal account. Because I remember that night. I do remember I celebrated. We went out to dinner and I had a PayPal credit card, and then we bought dinner with $20. And then the guy refunded like the next day. So sad. But I was proud that I had made money.
How'd you support yourself while this was not working?
I didn't. So my beautiful wife did. She had 2 jobs at the time to support me while I was wrestling and doing these things. And she was the one that made it possible to be able to gamble and risk and try crazy things.
Can I put you on the spot and ask you to just come over here and just tell me about this period and what you felt at the time? I know that you don't love being on stage. Russell is good with it, but I know that you don't love it. If you don't mind, I'm just going to go with one more story and then I'll come back to you. You cool with it? Good. She seems a little nervous, but actually, wait, let's see if we can get her right now. Oh, you are? Okay.
Everyone, this is Collette, my beautiful wife.
Do you want to use his mic?
Sure.
She's so mad at me right now.
I wanted to come to this. Who knew?
You are like he's so proud that he had no venture funding, but you are like his first investor.
That's true.
Yes. I'll be his first investor.
Can you hold the mic a little closer and just tell me, how did you know he wasn't a loser? No job. He's wrestling. He's buying infomercial stuff that doesn't go anywhere. Like, we know he did well, so we're not insulting him now, but what did you see in him back then that let you say, I'm going to work extra hard and pay for what he's not doing?
What did I see in him? It was actually his energy, his spirit, and because I'm not going to lie, it was kind of not love at first sight. We were geekos, you know what I mean? Shopped at the Goodwill and in baggy pants and t-shirts, and I don't know, it was the person who just was always positive, and we had the same goals. And
That's the thing I noticed too, the positivity. When these businesses fail, we're showing a few on the screen. It's easy to look back and go, haha, I did this and it was interesting. But at the time, what was the bounce back like when things didn't work out? When the world basically said, you know what, as salespeople, when they don't buy your stuff, it's like they don't buy you. When the world basically said, we don't like you, we don't like what you've created. What was the bounce back like? Hard?
No, because I come from hardworking family, and so I work hard, and so you just work hard to make it work.
And he's just an eternal optimist, and you're an eternal optimist too, like genuinely, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess. It works.
His dad said no more money, you had to cut up your credit cards too.
Yeah,
How did you cut up your credit cards? What was that day like?
hard. Yeah, hard, because those that you don't know that I'm a little bit older than Russell, and so I've always had this independency to go do and buy and do these things, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, step back, sister. Gotta take care of this young man so we can get to where we're at. Anyway, but now, yeah.
Now things are good.
Now things are amazing. Yeah.
All right, give her a big round of applause. Thanks for coming up here. These businesses did okay. And then you started something that I never heard about, but look at this. I'm going to zoom in on a section of the Google Doc you sent me. This is the call center. The call center got to how many employees? 100?
We had about 60 full-time salespeople, 20 full-time coaches, and about 20 people doing the marketing stuff. It's about 100 people in the whole company. Yeah.
100 people doing what kind of call center, what kind of work?
So what we would do is we'd sell free CDs and things like that online, free CDs, free books, free whatever. And then if someone would buy it, then we call them on the phone, and then we'd offer them high-end coaching. Okay.
And this was you getting customers how?
Man, back then it was pre-Facebook, so a lot of it was Google, it was email lists, it was anything we could figure out to drive traffic, all sorts of weird stuff.
And then people could come in, get a free CD, sign up for coaching, and then you had to hire people and teach them how to coach?
Yeah,
How'd you do
that was hard things. When we first started doing it, I was just doing the coaching. So people come in, and we had a little, and Brent, some of you guys remember the little offices we had, and we'd bring people in, and we were so proud of our little office. They come in and we teach them for 2 or 3 days, teach an event for them. And then as it got bigger, it was harder and harder for me to do that. And then, so eventually, and a lot of people didn't want to come to Boise. Like, I love Boise, but it's really hard to get to. So people would sign up for coaching and then they'd never show up to Boise. And then, a year later, they want their money back. And we're like, so we have to do something where they're getting fulfilled whether they showed up to Boise or not. So we started doing the phone coaching, and at first it was me, and then it was me and a couple other people, and then we started training more coaches, and that's how it kind of started. And it was one of those things though, like at first it was just like 5 or 6 of us just in a room doing it, and then it worked. And so then the next logical thing is like, well, we should go from 5 people to 10 to 20, and like next thing you know, we wake up with 100 people. We're like, what are we doing? Like, we're little kids. Like it scares me that I'm in charge of all these people's livelihood, but that's what, that's kind of where it was at, and it's kind of scary for me.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm hiding behind interviewing because I'm afraid to stand up and say, here's what I want, here's what I think we need to do, here's how the world should be. And so I'm amazed that even back then, after having a few businesses that didn't really work out, you were comfortable enough to say, come to my office, I'm going to teach you, I've got it figured out, when you hadn't. How did you get yourself comfortable, and what made you feel comfortable about being able to say, I can teach these people who come to my office, who call up, who then become my coaches, who then have to teach other people?
I think, for me, it's like when I first started learning the online stuff and entrepreneurship, like, I think most people feel this, like, it's so exciting, you want to tell everybody about it, right? And so I'm telling my friends, my family, and nobody cares at first. And you're like, I have to share this gift I figured out, like, it's amazing, and nobody cares. And then, like, the first time somebody cares, and then you just like dump on them, you want to show it to them. And so I hadn't made tons of money, but I had a lot of these little websites that had done, 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. And so for me, it was like, if I can show these people, like, I know what that did for me. It gave me the spark to like want to do the next one. And so for me, it was really just like, I want to share this because like, I felt like I'd figured it out. And so that was the thing. We were coming in and we weren't teaching people how to build $100 million companies, but we're like, hey, you can quit your job. Like, you make $2,000 or $3,000 a month, you can quit your job. And this is how I did it. This is the process. And so that's what we were showing people, is just, the foundation, how we did it, and just kind of re-shown to other people because they cared and it was exciting to share with other people.
Is Whitney here? There she is. Whitney, I met her as she was coming in. I wanted to get to know why people are coming to watch this, what they wanted to hear from you. And Whitney was asking about like the difficult periods, the why. I'm wondering the same thing that she and I were talking about, which is, why put yourself through this? You could have gotten a job. You could have done okay. Why put yourself through the risk of hiring people, the eventual, as we see, closing of the company? What was your motivation? What was the goal? Why did you want to do it?
I think it shifts throughout time, right? Like, I think most entrepreneurs, when they first get started, it's because of money. Like, I want to make money. And then you get that. And then really quick, that doesn't last very long. And then it's like, then for me, it was like, I want to share with other people. And then when other people get it, like, there's something about the aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, they got it. Like, they got what I was saying. And then like that for me was like the next level, like the next high. That's just like, oh, I love that. And then, and back then we had some success stories coming through, but nowadays it's like the bigger success stories come through. And that's what, I don't know, for me, that's what drives it on. Like, that is the fascinating part. It's why we keep, because like most software company owners don't keep creating books and courses and but like when people have the aha, that's like, oh my gosh, that's the best for me.
That's the thing, that you get the high of the thing that you wanted when you were growing up, that you wanted somebody to show it to you. And if you could then genuinely give it to them, not like Don LaPree, but Don LaPree plus actual results, that's what fires you up.
It does fire me up. It's amazing.
What happened? Why did that close down?
Oh man, a lot of things, a lot of bad mistakes, a lot of first time growing company stuff that I didn't. Again, we just woke up one day, it felt like, and we were in this huge office, huge overhead, and about that time, it was like 99, 2000, something like that. And there was the merchant account that me and most of the people doing internet marketing at the time, we all used the same merchant account, and they got hit by Visa and MasterCard, and so they freaked out and they shut down. I think that it ended up being like 400 or 500 merchant accounts overnight, and we had 9 different merchant accounts at that company, and all of them got shut down instantly. And I remember, because everything was fine, we're going through the day, and it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. They came in like, hey, none of the cards won't process, and I'm like, we couldn't figure out why they weren't processing. And then we tried to call the company, and no one's answering the company. And finally, we get someone on the phone, and they said, oh yeah, you got shut down along with everybody, along with all the other scammers. And she hung up on me, and I was like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, I've got 100 plus people, and payroll's not small, and we didn't have a ton of cash in the bank. It was just like it was more of a cash flow business. And Collette actually just left town that night, and she was gone. And And I remember Avatar just came out, so everyone was going to movie Avatar night. And I remember sitting there during the longest movie of all time, and I don't remember anything other than like this sick feeling in my stomach. And I was like texting everyone I know, like trying to see like if anyone knew what to do. And everyone I knew was like, we got shut down too. Everyone got shut down, and like we couldn't figure out anything. And so we came back the next day. I called everyone up, and actually kind of a funny side story. I just met Tony Robbins a little earlier to this. And so that night I was laying in bed, it's like 4 a.m. and my phone rings, and I look at it and it's Tony Robbins' assistant, and I pick it up and he's like, hey, is there any way you can be in Vegas in 3 hours? There's a plane from Boise to Vegas. Tony wants you to speak at this event. It's starting in 3 hours. Like, you need to be on stage in 3 hours. And I'm sitting here like, my whole world just collapsed. I'm laying in bed, sick to my stomach, and I was like, I don't think I can. Like, I have to figure this thing out. And then and he tells Tony, they call me back. Tony says, if your business isn't, if you can't make it, don't show up, you're fine. And so I didn't go. And then next morning I woke up and there was a message on my phone I'd missed. I passed out and woke up, and it was a message from Tony. And he was like, hey man, I know that you care about your customers, you care about things. And he's like, I don't know the whole situation, but worst case scenario, if you need help, let me know. And we can absorb you into Robin's research or whatever, and you can be one of my companies, and that way, if you want, we can protect you. And I heard that and I was like, okay, that's like the worst case scenario. Is I get to work with Tony Robbins? Like, that's the worst case scenario. So then I called up everybody on my team and I was like, okay guys, we got to try to figure out how to save this. And Brent and John, everyone, then we came back to my house and I was like, okay, what ideas do we got? And we just sat there for the next 5 or 6 hours trying to figure stuff out. And then we went to work, and I wish I could say like everything turned around, but it was the next probably, 2 or 3 years of us firing 30 people, firing 20 people, closing things down, moving down offices, like just shrinking for a long, long time, until the peak of it was about a year after that moment. And we were in Vegas, an event, trying to figure out how to save stuff. And I got an email from my dad, who was helping with the books at the time. And he said, hey, I got really bad news for you. I looked through the books, and it turns out your assistant, who was supposed to be doing payroll taxes, hadn't paid payroll in over a year. He's like, you owe the IRS over $170,000. And he's like, and if you don't pay this, like, you're probably gonna go to jail. And I was like, gosh, like every penny I'd earned at that point was gone. Everything was done. We lost everything. And I was just like, I don't know how to fight this battle. But if I don't fight it, like, I go to jail apparently. And I remember that's a really crappy feeling. Yeah. And Brent, some of you guys are reliving this with me right now, I know. I remember going back that night and laying in bed, and I was just like, I wish that I had a boss that could fire me, because I don't know what to do or how to do it. And that was definitely the low spot for me.
And you stuck with him? Sorry. Wow, yeah. You know what? I've talked to a few of your people because they're so good that Dave could really be a leader on his own, could start his own company. He's got his own online reputation, the whole thing. I keep asking them, why do you work for Russell? What is it that lets you be second to Russell, who's getting all the attention? And I've got some answers. And would you mind coming up here and in a second? I'm going to ask you. Just like, no, come on back here, and I'll just bring you up in a second. Actually, you know what? It looks like you can come pretty fast. I thought that it would be a little bit more. I thought it would be more of a thing to get mics on people, and I realized if Collette can do it. Okay, honestly, dig down deep. Why did you want to stick with him?
Through all that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. My heart was just racing. As you started telling that story, it just makes me like sick to my stomach. As you scroll down and look at all those businesses of, like, for years, like just like every 30 days there was a new business launch. Like it was crazy. Why I stuck with him is Clint mentioned that spirit. Like, just he's absolutely different than anybody else I've ever met in my entire life. Like a firm.
What? Give me an example. Let's be more specific. Back then, not today, when he's got this track record, adoring fans. I asked him to do an interview. Everyone wants him on his podcast. Back then, when it wasn't going so well. Give me an example of something that he did to let you know this is a guy who's going to figure it out eventually, and I could possibly go down, watch him go to jail, but I believe that it's going to go up.
Well, at the time when things were crashing, I saw him as the income stopped, and he had started a program. He loves obviously wrestling, and he brought an Olympic wrestling coach to Boise, and he brought all these amazing wrestlers to Boise, and he wanted them to be able to train and get to the Olympics. He wanted to help them get there and live their dream. And he was supplementing. At the time, the business was paying for these guys to do some little bit of work for us. They weren't doing very much for us, but I saw him out of his own pocket be paying for these guys, and I knew how hard he wanted to support them. And there was a day that, my wife and I, we were struggling because I was concerned about him, financially. He was supplementing trying to keep his business afloat. And we talked about things, and I came into the office one day and I asked if I could talk to him, and sat down and kind of spoke in language that I normally don't speak in. I might have dropped a bomb or two. But I was so concerned. I pretty much told him, like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep watching you, every month pulling the money you've saved for your family to try to keep jobs for other people. Like I said, I'll leave, if that helps you. And the fact that he stuck with people, and that was the true character of who he is.
He kept paying your salary, kept sticking with you, and also constantly launching things. You were telling me before.
Absolutely.
That you've never seen anyone implement like him.
No. Some people call it faith or belief. Like, he has this inherent belief that he can truly change people's lives.
That's it. Even when he wasn't fully in control of his own. All right. Thanks for give him a big round of applause. Thanks for being up here. I feel like this is the thing that helped get you out of trouble and potentially getting out of potential jail. What is this business that you created?